So my head is absolutely buzzing with everything I've had today. It's a really, really exciting and stimulating day. So thank you everyone for all the contributions. And the task of trying to sum it up is a true challenge. I've scribbled some notes, which I will probably get lost in. So if you see me pouring for a minute, trying to find where I am, please bear with me. I think today has raised some difficult questions. No easy answers. That's kind of actually goes without saying, doesn't it? But I think there are some things that we're all agreed on. Firstly, autistic voices need to be heard, whether in designing, conducting and interpreting research, in designing solutions to challenges that some autistic people face and in other ways. Secondly, scientists and clinicians traditionally, and perhaps some still, have distanced themselves from really engaging with autistic voices in order to preserve objectivity in their work. Consequently, science has often failed to address the questions and the challenges that are of paramount importance to autistic people. I think that there has been, in the last few years, a lot of progress. So initiatives such as this conference, the work carried out at the Centre for Research in Autism Education and other research centres testify to the progress that has been made in listening to autistic voices. I think that the call for inclusivity is making an impact. Work of autistic scholars like Damien and others has played a big role in this. And as we've heard today and in other fora, ethical questions have been raised and are coming to the forefront. So all of that is good. What are the challenges? Well, there are many and I can't possibly cover them all, but for me, in going forward, one of the key challenges is heterogeneity. You know, that old saying, when you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. So how do you ensure balance and authenticity in the representation of autistic voices, especially when some of those being represented are non-verbal? Just as science must avoid reproducing certain stereotypes about autism, so in my view, the autistic community must be mindful of the diversity and individuality in their midst. One size doesn't fit all, so we must all be mindful of not reproducing stereotypes of what autistic people are like. The other challenge I see is in terms of finding the right methods and the way to take theory forward. And I feel like Jonathan, that good science has an important role to play in understanding autism and in promoting the needs of autistic people. We must remind ourselves what science has achieved, for instance, in combating stigmatizing theories like Bettelheim's, in exposing unsafe interventions, and to some extent, informing the public about autism. Now, there's a whole other area in potential stereotypes because, you know, the media and public representations of autism do tend to latch on to the eccentric little genius trope, but even that's got a bit better. How does one find the rapprochement between that good science and individual voices and experiences? I think there's some great examples in the work that both Damien and Dinah have been doing with the monotropism model. Models like that make testable claims, and they also need to be theoretically developed. So I think, you know, Phil's ideas show a way in which some of those ideas could be linked to the work of scientists from outside the autism field. But there are testable claims there, and they need to be empirically tested. This is what makes people in the mainstream autism community sit up and listen. And I've done a little bit of this in my own research. I ran a project on special interests in adults with autism. I want to say just 3 small things about that, if I may. So that was a survey-based, online survey-based study of what special interests in adults are like. It's the first time, I think, that we've heard from people with autism, from autistic people, about their special interest. Almost all the other work has been done by asking parents. And parents often find special interests very annoying. So it's great to have autistic people telling us about their special interests. But although we had some scales, we also had free text responses where they talked about their own interests. So just 3 things from that, because it links to the interest model. What we did find, which I think fits very well with the monotropism theory, is that autistic people are especially highly committed and strongly motivated to pursue their interests. We didn't find, however, that they have fewer interests than the neurotypical controls in the study. Now, that's in a particular population, but I'm just putting that out there as something that needs to be engaged with. In a way, one of the most interesting object lessons was when we tried to do some coding on the free text accounts, and we were looking for ways to rate those free text accounts of special interests for narrowness and for oddness, because these are things that come up frequently about autistic people's special interests, how narrow they are and how odd they are. Now, we didn't find otherwise. What we found was that we couldn't agree on a sufficiently reliable coding scheme. So one of us would say, well, that's very odd. The other one would say, no, it's not. That's very narrow. Well, I don't think so. And I was looking back at my notes the other day, and it was this whole dialogue. So there's work to be done, but I think that reminds us that perceptions of autism are culturally situated. So I learned as much from what we weren't able to do as what we were able to do in that study. But I think it links nicely to some of the monotropism work. Also, as I said, that I think there's room for conceptual development of some of these theories. Meanwhile, personally, I guess that I am reticent about models which try to explain too much, whether they come from scientists, good old theory of mind model, trying to explain everything there is to know about autism, or whether they come from people within the autism community, or a combination. So I think all of those big theoretical models fell flat on their face when they tried to explain everything about autism. And one reason may be work which suggests that certain autistic traits, like social traits in autism and non-social traits, actually genetically fractionate separately in the wider community. So there may be no reason why all of this comes from one core issue. So I just think that in going forward, go with what is authentic and meaningful, and don't try to overreach. And I'd like to end on a positive note by saying I think that we really are in a good place now as far as future for work on autism is concerned, because there is so much coming from the autism community, and I think people outside that community are listening. So, thank you.